I guess you love movies. I do too. Hi guys, and welcome back to another video in my favourite movie section. And today, as you can probably tell, with the significant amount of Scorsese movies behind me, I'm going to be talking about one of my favourite movies from Martin Scorsese and one of my favourite movies of all time. And that today is Goodfellas. Now, Goodfellas obviously made in 1990, directed by Martin Scorsese, stars Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta, and Joe Pesci, and many, many others. And is about the life of Henry Hill, played by Ray Liotta, and his rise in organised crime and the mafia, and his eventual fall from grace in that world. Now, when did I first see Goodfellas? I saw it quite a long time ago. I'd say probably about 7 or 8 years ago. So by then I was probably about, I don't know, I was probably about 11 or 12 when I saw Goodfellas, and you're like, why were your parents letting you watch this movie at 12? And I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have seen it. At that point I watched Casino and Goodfellas very close together. And really, at that point, I liked the movies, don't get me wrong, but really all I was comparing was how violent they were. Casino's probably a little bit more violent, so I remember liking them both. But as time's gone on, Goodfellas has only exponentially got better in my mind. Goodfellas is a masterpiece, and one of the great films about organised crime ever filmed. And that's down to, obviously, direction by Scorsese, but also the performances in this film. Ray Liotta here gives the best performance of his career. And so little people talk about how good he is in this movie, because Joe Pesci gets a lot of credit for how good he is in this movie, and he is excellent, and I'll get onto that a bit later, but Ray Liotta gives the best performance of his career. He's the central heart of this film. He's really the most morally conflicted. This is about a boy who really, more than anything, wants to be part of something, wants to be appreciated, wants to be part of a feeling of loyalty and family and union. He watches these gangsters across the street from him, and they seem to be gods in this small town. These people that can do anything they want whenever they want. They don't have to pay attention to anyone. No authority is above them, and this is something that is massively appealing to this young kid looking through the window across the street. And when he finally gets a job at the taxi rank, he eventually becomes part of them and becomes part of this crew, and this is all he wants in his life, is to be accepted. And as he rises in the mafia, the more he becomes cocooned, and the more this becomes his life. And he loves the life. He loves the life. He loves being rich. He loves having money. He loves having flash cars and going out with, good-looking girls, and, having all this power and authority at such a young age. But he misuses it, and he ends up doing things and being part of things that he's not comfortable doing. And in the end, he has to sell his soul to keep this life. And eventually, by the end, he doesn't have enough soul left to keep that life that he's always wanted. And it is a fantastic performance by Ray Liotta in this film. Also, Joe Pesci is fantastic in this movie, obviously. The obviously now iconic Funny How scene, which of course wasn't actually originally in the script, was actually something that Joe Pesci experienced when he was a young kid. He saw a gangster do it to somebody else, and he, improvised it with Ray Liotta, and a lot of the people in the scene were unaware of this change, and their reactions are actually completely legitimate. These are actually organic reactions to this scene, which is really great. Joe Pesci's fantastic in the movie. He's kind of a likeable guy. He's funny and entertaining to listen to until he just snaps. And he has this explosive temper, this psychopathic nature that pretty much causes him to put a lot of the rest of the people in the film in a lot of danger. His temper is one of the most important things in this film, and it ignites probably the biggest conflict in the movie. And of course, Joe Pesci meets a maid guy in a bar that Liotta owns, that Henry Hill owns, and he starts to insult him, belittle him, and Joe Pesci, Tommy, he loses his temper, and he comes back, and him and Robert De Niro's character, Jimmy Conway, beat the crap out of this guy and end up killing him and burying him in the woods. This is something they shouldn't be able to do and shouldn't be doing. This puts them in a lot of trouble because this is a made man. This is someone that has a crew behind him and has the mafia at his side. He's pure Italian, and this isn't something that someone that isn't made can do. He should be untouchable, and this puts a lot of pressure on not just Tommy, but on of course Henry Hill and Robert De Niro's character Jimmy Conway. And this is the central conflict in the film, and really that changes the sort of relaxed life that they have, and it kind of starts to challenge the life that they've built up for themselves. Jimmy Conway, obviously played by Robert De Niro, is a great character. He's kind of a supporting character in this movie, but he also still gives a good performance. He's very, very threatening. He just loves stealing. He just enjoys it. He's the guy, as Henry Hill says, who would root for the bad guys in the movies. And there's a brilliant scene. There's a Christmas party scene where, after the famous Lufthansa heist, the people that have been part of that heist come to the Christmas party with things that they bought using the money, and Jimmy gets very angry at them for being too obvious and drawing attention to themselves. It's in my opinion, one of the best scenes in the movie. And it's really, really enjoyable. And the paranoia again starts to grow from there, and and it just shows the sort of rise and the descent into paranoia of all of these characters. And eventually, they all, in a way, get what they deserve. It is a truly, truly fantastic film. I also really like Lorraine Bracco in this movie, who plays the wife, who plays Karen in the film, and sort of shows the outsider's view of being inside this world, and sort of, again, becoming all-encompassed by the world of the mafia. And when you're in it, it's so hard to get out. And really, by the end of the film, Henry Hill's... by the end of the film, he ends up getting picked up by narcotics, by narcs, the police, and he goes into a witness protection program because he gives up all of his friends. And it shows at the end how much that loyalty is really worth, because once the loyalty's gone, nobody will think twice about killing you, because really all they want to do is save their own neck. Once again, they want to save their life just as much as you want to save yours. And Henry Hill realises this quite quickly after selling drugs against the will of the Don, Paulie, in this movie. And in the end, his the worst thing that can happen to him, and his punishment for all of his crimes, is that he has to give up the life that he sold his soul to get. And by this time, he's just a normal schmuck living in a house like anybody else. And what really did he gain from it? It's definitely a story about greed and morality. Brilliant performances, incredible energy and direction by Scorsese. One of the great scenes in the movie is the day in the life of Henry Hill when he's high on cocaine, he's trying to do drug deals. He's making dinner and he picks up his brother from the hospital, and this whole day in the life, as you feel the walls closing in and the helicopter closing in on him, and narcs, closer and closer to putting him in jail. And you feel the paranoia and the claustrophobia of this situation closing in on Henry Hill, and it's such a brilliant sequence. It's one of the best in all of Scorsese. His direction and energy are more obvious in this movie than any other. This is one of his most technically perfect movies. This is him at the top of his technical powers. This is a truly brilliant film. If you haven't seen Goodfellas, I mean, what are you doing here? Go and watch it right now. Goodfellas is one of my favourite movies of all time, and it's truly, truly brilliant. I love it. It's awesome. Thank you for watching this video. Obviously, this is one of my favourite movies of all time. Soon I will have another Scorsese movie, favourite movies out for you soon. That will be Taxi Driver, one of my all-time favourite movies once again. And hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Goodbye.